Hi, my name is Maria Smith and I'm an architect. So my superhero is the Vitruvian Woman. She's based on the Vitruvian Man, which is a drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, who was a polymath, a sort of artist, architect, engineer, scientist. And the Vitruvian Man is based on the work of Vitruvius, who was a Roman, also polymath, architect and engineer. And both men were very interested in the relationship between arts and the sciences and bridging those. So the Vitruvian Woman is my superhero alter ego, and she's a polymath architect engineer, just as I long to be. How long have you got? Well, architects and engineers have worked together, collaborated over the last sort of 100 years or so since the invention of the structural engineer. I suppose I'm more talking about structural engineers if we're talking about engineering in buildings. It's something that came up with the advent of cast iron and concrete and these kind of new modern methods of constructing buildings that required a specialist to sort of figure out how to use them and how to develop them. And that became a specialist engineering discipline. And then the architecture became this thing that kind of decorated or made polite these structures. And that caused this separation in the two disciplines that's about 100, 150 years old now. But I think that now that that legacy is sort of a little bit overdue a rejig. I mean, I think it's just one of culture, really. It's just the way that at the moment we're taught in schools that you have art subjects and you have science subjects, and yes, they're both very important, but they tend to be still quite distinct. There's a huge emphasis, as I mentioned, on collaboration, which is all about people, different people working together. What I'm interested in is transdisciplinary individuals, which is a bit of a mouthful, but essentially means individuals who can work across different subjects, and whether that's kind of biology and history or art and architecture or engineering and oceanography. It's just finding different people that can bridge those different gaps. So in amongst those drawings, one of the drawings that you can see is the restored landscaping outside of the Hoover Building, which is an Art Deco factory on the A40 in West London. And the building was built in the 30s and then was used as a factory for a long time, making Hoovers. And then it was an office and has been derelict for about 10 years or so, but we're now currently on site transforming it into flats so that it can be come back into use. And as part of that project, we had to do quite an extensive restoration of the facade of the building, which is grade 2 star listed, but also the landscaping outside, which is the radial pattern that you can see behind me. Architecture is male-dominated at the moment, less so than engineering. I think in engineering we're about 11% women, whereas in architecture it's more like 20s in terms of actually chartered, registered architects. But that is, it's sort of increasing slowly. The interesting thing is that if you look at the intake at undergrad level to architecture courses, that's about 50-50, but then a lot of women drop out for all sorts of reasons. And there have been many studies, but there's nothing that's really conclusive and persuasive as to why women would drop out rather than men. I think it's a kind of a huge cultural question that we need to ask across the board. But yeah, it is something that at the moment I am in a minority.